At this time, we will call to order the regular city council meeting for June 10th, 2019. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Judy, let the roll call show everyone is present except for Lisa Deaton, and you are filling in for her. Thank you. On to the approval of minutes, May 28th, 2019.
I'll move the minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. Approval of the bills.
I'll move the bills.
I'll second.
Oh, yep. Councilmember Kurtzwell, go ahead.
It's not actually a bill, so I want to make sure that it's proper. It's the revenue report for the city, but it is attached to the bills and the checks that have been approved, so. Do I have your permission to move forward? Other questions?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did have two questions on the revenue, and Lori, I'm glad you're here. The first one is on the state shared revenue. I just want to make sure I understand this, and maybe I have it wrong. I see where the dollar amount is that we're supposed to receive. Have we not yet received all of the state revenue funds? Or is that something that just gets apportioned over time, or?
We have not received them all yet, and in fact, at the end of the audit, we accrue back 2 different payments, because they come within 60 days of year end. So as long as we get them by August, end of August, I believe, then we can put those back into the 2019 fiscal year. So there's where a big part of it is, that's missing.
Okay.
Because we haven't received them yet, but I don't know what the dollar amount is yet. So I can go online and check that, probably, Patricia can in a couple of weeks, just to make sure we have a good number that we can put in there for the audit.
Okay, that's a really good answer. So, in other words, what's happening is that the timing of the payments of the state revenue shared portion of the budget is not timed to our fiscal year.
Correct.
Okay, all right. So you just have to be patient on that. The next one, and this is just a little bit of a trend analysis, and I don't know if you've noticed it since you work on the budget. This is with grave openings and foundations. We have about 80%, 87% in terms of revenue. I do know from another municipality that municipalities that have their own cemeteries are beginning to notice decreased revenue, because what's happening is the shift is going from in the grave to cremation. So I don't know if you have noticed that at all?
I don't, because it is grave openings and foundations, we do a lot of burials of cremains up there. I believe, if Judy, can you put 4 cremains on a
You
site?
can put 4 cremains on a grave.
Yeah, so
So we do have a lot of burials of
we do have a lot of burials. The hardest part about trying to gauge what you're going to take in is, the obvious, how many times do we have to open a grave?
Yeah, no, I get
And it's
that.
hard to pinpoint, and the fact that most of our sections are getting full now, and we're going to have to open up a new section, so that might have a little something to do with it, because once we run out of room, we run out of room.
Then where does the money come from then to pay for the care of the cemetery, the upkeep, when you don't have that source of funding coming in?
Well, you need to do investments with your perpetual care.
Okay, and do we have any of our perpetual care money invested?
It's just in the money market right
in the
now.
money
We haven't
market.
done investments for quite some time because We haven't had anybody here to do them.
Okay.
In the past, we always did jumbo CDs,
Yep.
but those rates went down, so there's really no sense in tying up your money that long. And now that Paul's here, he's been looking into a few different avenues for investments.
Okay, I'm just looking down the road. So
Yeah.
that was another,
Well, Paul's looking into it. It's on his radar. It's on
Okay.
his to-do list.
the next one was on interest. That's showing, what's going on there?
We got a lot more interest in.
I know, but I'm saying to myself, interest rates have been low. They've been low for a while. They're going to be low.
Right.
Where is this interest money coming from? Is it because the general fund balance has gone up? And
It has gone up, that's part of it, but we just had PNC Bank in. They noticed a couple of our accounts weren't in really good money markets. They switched a few of them over to a money market account, which the ones that don't have a whole lot of activity in them, there's so many restrictions on some of these accounts, you can only make like 3 withdrawals in a year.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, but the interest rate on them is a lot higher. So we started getting a lot more interest in this year. And that was, you're trying to go off an average of the last 5 years for interest. It's really hard to predict what's going to happen.
I mean, this is huge.
I know it's a lot.
I
but
mean, it's huge.
Like
I
I
mean-
said, we did some changes at the banking level.
In just 1 year, you've been able to make that kind of gain?
There's quite a bit, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. This is, this,
Yeah, I
this.
don't have the report in front of me, so
Well,
I-
it was in prior years, in the 2018-19, in the amended budget, it was 5,500. But then the year-to-date balance was showing like 26,000. Or maybe I'm reading that wrong.
20,000, yeah. Still 4.5, or 4
Yeah.
3/4 times, yeah.
You look- I'm trying to see what we got for the last month. Yeah, 20.
I mean, this is great. You're making good financial decisions, but that number just really popped out at me. Well, congratulations to you then.
It's also 3 different banks worth, too.
Okay.
We made like 1,800 in just 1 month, so
Okay,
the
that's,
last month.
okay, good. I'm glad I asked.
Yeah.
Thank you very, very much. You've been extremely helpful,
Okay,
very
is that it?
knowledgeable. Yeah, thank you, for me.
I had not too, Dan.
Councilmember Kivel, go ahead.
Down toward the bottom, the MIRMA dividends, sort of the same, not quite as extreme as the interest, but, 220% beyond what we would have forecasted. Is that from some of their grants? Because there are grants that are listed, like Fire got the grant from them, and
Right, and those are listed in other areas. We do get the dividends from them, and those are based upon the recommendations from their board on how they refund money that they get every single year. So that's really unknown. We know we do get them, we just don't know what those dollar amounts are until they report it to us, or they come here to our meeting and present us a check.
yeah, can we kind of go by the history and try to see if there's some way that we might be able to glean some way to forecast what that is a little better?
We can do that, it's been up and down what I saw for the last few years, but, we want to be conservative in the guesstimates that we make, but, we can talk with them and see if we can try to get closer to those estimates.
Yeah, I mean, I love seeing it higher than lower, but it'd be nice to be able to plan better.
Anyone else with anything on the bills this evening?
A motion and a second.
So we had a motion and a second and a discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Attorney bills this evening?
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll support.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Approval of tonight's agenda?
I'll move the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. At this time, we'll open the floor for public comment. Please state your name and address, and please remember that we have a 2-minute warning or limit. We will close public comment and move on to the discussion of downtown this evening. Paul?
I'll try to abide by that 2-minute wording also on this. Couple things for you inside your packet. Bob has included a proposed timeline for the South Lyon business survey that we're doing. That's proposed on how we're going to be working and gathering data, meeting with some of the groups to get a better draft together, working with individuals to make sure we establish a good means of which trying to get this particular survey out in a format that's readable as well as responsive, that we can get a good percentage of them back. There's also discussion there about the distribution of the survey, when we get it back, and getting the timeline together and back everything to council for some kind of report in sometime in November. Also in here is information about the businesses for 135 Lake Street and 111 North Lafayette. We've met with them and we're working with them, and you can see some of the activity that's on the North Lafayette building. They got a sign within the window that does explain some activity in that building, which is great. They've been working in it, and we're really looking forward to that improvement in the downtown. We're still trying to seek in-kind contributions for the South Lyons Veterans Memorial. Bob's been working on that for the concrete, brick, planning, fencing, and so we'll try to keep that in the forefront so everybody's aware of what's going on with that fundraising activity as well as what's taking place there on that site. We wanted to make sure everybody knew that the new sidewalk or the trash containers are in town. They're working on getting a specific type of cover for that so they don't fill with water. Who would have ever known we would have this much rain in the month of May and June, but we'll try to make sure we get that addressed so they don't fill with water instead of the necessary garbage. The DDA flowers are up, which will look really good around town. We got a watering schedule for that. We have an individual that's doing that sort of work. And also, Bob wanted me to, if you have any questions, I can relate to him when he does in fact get back later on this week. But I'll be happy to try to answer any questions that you have right now.
Councilmember Kennedy, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to thank you and Bob for going through the effort of detailing out the timeline, coming up with the estimate for the activities. You and I already discussed this afternoon. I think that's a great effort. So I'm looking forward to seeing the survey as it becomes finalized here. Thanks again.
Anyone else with anything to add to the downtown this evening? All right. We'll move on to new business. Budget amendments. Thank you, Lori.
So most of our amendments, like general fund, I didn't change the bottom line that was appropriated. I just moved some money around. A lot of that was just to cover some new IT things that we wanted to get accomplished before the year end. Major and local streets, though, you'll notice we had a lot of activity in the snow plowing, snow removal. That one, again, is another hard one to predict. You don't know what the weather's going to give us. But, I moved some money around again, so the bottom line wasn't increased or anything, but we needed to cover that so it didn't look so ugly, being over budget. Capital improvement, if you guys will recall, when we purchased 501 McMunn, we split the cost between capital improvement and land acquisition. So after I thought about it, I think the better way to do it was to do an operating transfer out of capital improvement into land acquisition, so the entire asset sits within land acquisition. You don't want to split them out between two different ones. And then water and sewer, we just tried to move some things around. Again, nothing was unchanged. We just had some other IT things come up, and I know we're going to have some pretty pricey fixes coming up here pretty soon. They've got some things that they have to work on. I don't know how far they're going to get with it before year end, but I think there's enough in there to cover it for this year anyway. And then the DDA, they just need help.
Yeah.
Their budget just got all wacky. We underestimated the TIF funds that we were going to get by about $5,000 or $6,000, but then we overestimated what we were going to bring in for sponsorships for certain events. And then there was some expenditures that we didn't know were coming came. So we just did the best we could with that. Now the next year coming up, the bond payment has been paid. No more bond payment. So that's a good $36,000 these guys are going to have to work with next year. And if they don't spend it all, then we can just start banking and make bigger and better for our downtown area. So I don't know if there's any questions.
Councilmember Kivel, you had something?
Actually, I don't have a question, but I did want to make the comment that in sewer, I was glad to see that this line item 962 for miscellaneous expense, having that being $7,000, I think if I'm not mistaken, last year it was $40,000. That's a pretty big toy box of undefined expenditures. So I like the idea of us being more deliberate in exactly what we're going to allocate funds for. So the rest of it, this is great. I mean, we're sitting in a good seat now, so.
Councilmember Kurtzwell, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My first question deals with going back to how you were appropriating that land acquisition. If I were just a novice and was looking at the budget and wanted to go to the budget and see the category that had all real estate holdings, land acquisitions, kind of things, if you had continued the split the way you did, would I have gotten a full picture of the value of those land holdings?
Not for 501, you
Not-
wouldn't have.
yeah.
No, 390 we did that.
Right,
That's all sitting still in land acquisition.
land acquisitions.
Typically, what happens, though, when we purchase things, and I think we're going to keep this one for ourselves.
Yeah.
That will go on our capital asset listing.
Okay.
So it's going to be pulled out of land acquisition anyway.
Okay.
The auditors do that with their adjusting year-end entries. So you would almost have to go to our capital asset listing to see what properties we actually own that we are keeping for ourselves.
So in other words, then, if we're not going to keep it for ourselves, it would stay in land acquisition?
Just like 390 Lafayette did.
Okay, that is a really important clarification. I didn't know that.
Because we're holding it, we're hoping to sell it, or at least that was the initial, what council initially wanted to do with it, was because it was going for tax sale.
Yes, yes.
And the building, we all know, was not worth anything. We had to tear it down just to be able to even think about selling the property. So I don't know where we're at with that. I don't know, maybe when he gets ready to sell the old library, with the old Parks and Rec Authority building. I just don't know what council or the city is looking to do with that piece of property at the corner there.
So in other words, from your point of view, from an accounting point of view, you take your clue from council. So if council gives you an indication that this is a temporary hold, it's kind of going to sit in land acquisition. But if council, because this is important for council to
Right.
be able to articulate, what their purpose and plan is for something, so that we're sending the correct messages to you,
Right.
so that you get it in the right ledger.
Yeah, communication's always key. We
Yeah.
like to know what you guys are up to. We want to
Okay.
know, so we can do our jobs.
Yes, okay.
It's got to be communicated to us, so.
Excellent, I'm glad I asked that. The next one has to do with the DDA, and where was that underestimation coming with TIF? Because it's my understanding we've actually had a better year in terms of TIF than we have in years past. So where did that sort of fall short?
Well, I think it's because we do the budget in February
Okay,
for the next year. Those are the numbers that were given to me,
okay,
and that's what I went with. It's the same with our property taxes, that Lisa gives me those numbers. That's what I go with. I'm not a tax professional. I don't
No,
know how
that-
to do,
no, that's okay.
So I have to rely on other people to give me the information. I don't know that information was actually available then.
Okay.
We'll
Okay.
do the best we can.
Sure. And then you say, then the bond's being paid off, we all know that, and then they can start, whatever they don't use, they can start banking it, for future projects or whatever. I thought that if you didn't use what you wanted to use in your budget, that it dropped into the general fund at the end of the
Not
fiscal.
in the DDA, that's a whole different fund.
That's another important clarification.
We have-
Okay,
Well, how many tabs are in your budget? That's how many
Yeah.
different funds we have.
right.
So general fund is one fund, all its money stays there, but like the DDA, they're their own fund. They bring in their own money through the TIF. They need to bring in a lot of sponsorships and contributions to make these events happen. If they don't do that, or we don't use all our money, then it goes into the DDA's fund balance in that fund.
Because those TIF funds are targeted specifically for
For
the
the-
DDA
for
and
the
not for
DDA.
general purpose in the residents of the
Correct.
city. Okay.
Correct, so we have to keep them separate from the general fund.
Okay, got it. And my last question deals with, the police department with this 7,000 regarding operating expenditures. And it looks like you took some of that money out of tuition reimbursement.
Right.
Now, here's where the confusion was for me. You have the proposed 2017-18 budget for $4,800. The amended budget was $4,800. You have the 2018-19 budget for $4,800. You have next year's budget at $4,800. You have 2021 at $4,800. And then all of a sudden, there's no tuition reimbursement in year 2018, 2019. It's down to $700. How does that happen?
What's the line item number?
Line item number is 722.
I'm on the wrong page, I'm sorry.
722, General Fund Police.
When you said six?
When you look across that row.
Yep,
it-
4,800.
Yeah, 40, so it looks like they're actually using $4,800 of tuition reimbursement money until you get to tonight's amendment.
Well, if you look at audited 2016, 2017, there's a zero there. So they didn't use it last year.
I'm showing 48,
722.
oh, 722, yeah. In 16, 17.
I'm not sure what,
So that's the point. Now, my point is,
where they're looking at.
my point is that they appear to be using tuition reimbursement, and then all of a sudden, in 2018-19, it's down to $700.
Well, this year so far, they've used just under 700, and we've only got a couple more months to go. I don't see anybody turning in for reimbursements.
So is this reimbursement category overstated?
Not every year, it's not.
Okay,
No, really, it depends on what classes the guys are taking.
okay,
Some of them are going for their masters, some of them are still working on their bachelors.
okay.
So it depends on how many people take advantage of the tuition reimbursement.
And that's a pretty big swing, but,
Yeah,
okay,
but this year I can tell you it was under 600, or under 7, so that's why I put it at 7.
Okay.
And moved the money out of there because I knew we weren't going to use it this year.
okay. Thank you very much. Once again, very, very informative.
Councilmember Kivel, go ahead.
Nobody else has anything. I forgot, I wanted to point out one particular thing with the police budget. The cost for, or the amendment for $7,000 to operating expenses to cover the fingerprinting services for the schools. I just thought it was important the public understands that we're reimbursed for that money.
Yes, we are reimbursed and we are paid for our administrative time too.
Correct, yes.
But in the world of accounting, you can't net the two. I have to show the revenue coming in and the expenditure going out.
Right. I just want everybody to understand that.
Right.
So, thank
I
you.
mean, we're not really spending the money. We are, but we're not. I guess we are, but we aren't. Money is coming in.
Well, it's a cost that we don't bear.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And we don't make money off it either. It's really a
Right.
break-even thing.
Councilmember Richards, you had something?
Yes, thank you. Lori, back to DDA revenues, okay? We talked about the market sponsors, okay? Is there a fixed amount that a sponsor is supposed to give to become a sponsor?
The lowest amount this year is $195. It depends on what kind of a sponsor you want to be. Now, if you want to be, and I wish Bob was here because he could probably tell you better than I could. We do get higher dollar amounts from other sponsors, but they also get a booth. They get a lot of advertising for it. It all depends on how, I think there's like, is there like 3 different tiers?
Yeah, there's several different tiers, and depending upon whether it's for farmers market, or if they're sponsoring ladies' night out, or there's so many different things that they could potentially be making donations to for sponsorships.
All right, next question. Now, the vendors that
Right.
apply for action in the farmers market Saturdays, do they all pay a set fee to be a
That
vendor
is-
all season?
There's a fee, if you just want to do a couple farmers markets, there's a fee for that. If you're a seasonal, if you pay it up front, it's a little bit cheaper. But there is set fees for it, yes.
Okay, all right.
But if a vendor comes in, they know they're going to be here all summer, the entire season, they get a little bit of a break on the vendor fees because we know that spot's going to be filled. And we don't have to go looking for somebody to fill it up at the last minute.
Saturday is quite a bit more of them.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job this year.
Okay, thank you, that's all.
Anyone else have anything for Lori on budget amendments?
Make a motion that we approve the proposed amendment.
I'll second.
So we have a motion by Councilmember Kibble, supported by Councilmember Parisian, to approve the proposed amendments. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you again, Lori. New business number 2 this evening, DPW upper garage roof replacement. Thanks for being here, Ron.
We're looking to repair the roof at DPW. We received 3 quotes, and we're looking to have the recommendation. We are recommending 5-Star Roofing repair the work, and they will be completed by June 30th per their proposal. Any questions?
Councilmember Parisian, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a quick question. Have we used 5-Star Roofing before?
No.
Okay.
We reached out to quite a few commercial roofing companies. We were able to get 3 to show up, which
Okay.
I was surprised. So they were the lowest ones, and they're not completely replacing the roof. They're actually applying coatings to the metal barn-style roof that is on there.
So that was going to be my next question. Are they repairing, or is it a total replacement?
No, they're going to take what's existing and put a coating over that, so all
Okay.
the seams will be resealed, all the fasteners that are through the metal roof will be tightened up and then sealed over.
The reason why I asked was because I was reading through the quote, and it almost sounded too good to be true, because the warranties looked great, and then, I mean, their whole package looked fantastic, and they were significantly cheaper
Right.
by almost 10 grand. I mean, we're looking
About
at 16 and 18,
Right, and the total cost of the 5-Star is
and it's 10,
$10,200.
so they are cheap.
Yes, there is quite a bit of difference there. Some of it depended on the individual companies, the work they were planning on doing.
Okay.
So it was really difficult because one's saying, we're going to do this, to do apples to apples.
Yeah,
That was extremely difficult because each one of them had their own procedures that they wanted to follow.
well, we know how important this is and how much it's needed. My last question for you is, and this may sound like a dumb question, but I'm not familiar with how roofing works, but are they shutting down that part of the building? Because it's only a portion of the building that's being replaced,
They
right?
won't have to shut down the building.
Okay, it's just
They'll
gonna
work
be-
on it as operations are going on.
Okay.
What we do have to do is remove any equipment while they are applying the coatings because they're sprayed on.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Kennedy, go ahead.
Just as a matter of information, Ron, you and I discussed the repair here, and you do list a number of other installations this company has done, and you also mentioned that you reached out to some of those customers, I believe.
I did. I reached out to 3 that they provided were local through email. I got 1 response back, and that business owner had used them multiple times and highly recommended them.
Thank you.
Councilmember Richards, go ahead.
When you were reaching out to the other people to make a bid, did any of them offer a sample of the material that they're going to put on the roof to show you
No,
in comparison?
none of them.
That's
Because
strange.
it's a multi-layer spray-on process.
Okay, is this a vinyl, this procedure for 5-Star, is this a vinyl
No.
spray-on application?
It's listed back here, the products that they use. You should have this in your packet. They'll list the
It's in there.
layers.
I got it, okay. But now there is different procedures, okay? for
There
doing-
is. And a few years ago, we received quotes because we knew the roof was getting bad, and we received a quote to tear off and replace in the $40,000 to $50,000 range. So,
Yeah, but that's a lot more money and not necessarily necessary with a metal roof.
correct, and that's where the 3 recommendations were coming in to apply a coating.
Between this is a ribbed roof and not corrugated, okay?
Correct.
All right. In your opinion, do you think this application of this material will hold up and withstand vibration and the angle of the sun in the breaking spring weather, okay, without deteriorating or coming loose, coming apart, okay? The
Not being a roofer,
bonding.
I can go by what I'm my, looking into the products, and I wouldn't bring it to you if I didn't think that it was gonna hold up. But like anything, you know, they say it's a 20-year warranty with 3-year labor. If it holds up 20 years, I don't know. I mean,
I didn't-
I
I
get a
didn't see
3-year
a
on my car and
20-year.
have problems.
I didn't see anything in there that said 20-year warranty.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in there.
Oh, it's right in the front in red letters. Okay. I stand corrected. Well, okay, having done roofing before, okay, and single ply also, if you don't, it seemed to me, why wouldn't they just put down a cheap layer of the good old particle board between the ribs and then go over that rather than go up and down over those ribs? So it would seem to me, why wouldn't would they offer to do that? Why are they doing that?
All 3 companies, none of them mentioned a process like that. They all were some type of coating application.
I don't understand that, okay?
I'm not a roofer, so I don't understand all the complexities of it. I know they seemed very informative. And, you know, when I checked on the reference, everyone was, or the one company was very satisfied that I was able to
Does
get a
it
response
say in
from.
here the manufacturer of the membrane, of this single ply membrane? Does it say
Are
in
they
there?
the manufacturer or no?
The manufacturer warranties his material that they're buying to use on our roof?
Yes,
It
And then-
says that in there?
right there, yeah. And then they will have a 3-year labor warranty,
Yeah.
5-star roofing.
Yeah. $10,000 is a pretty cheap price. I have to agree, okay? But we can afford to pay that, but we can afford to pay more if I got more of a guarantee on longevity and durability in a situation where you've got a very light pitch roof with ribbed roofing and the angle of the sun, okay, can cause expansion and contraction with heat in the building.
The other 2 companies we received from had 10-year warranties only on product. So they're have an additional 10 years to their warranty.
Okay. That's all I got.
Councilmember Kurtzwell, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My only question is why is there the 30 to 60-day delay in putting on the second phase of is that coating like an epoxy that requires a certain amount of time to harden?
Yes, so the first process has to cure, and then based on weather, it will take 30 to 60 days on their recommendation when it's time to put this last coating on the roof.
Okay. I do want to compliment you on the explanation of topic. It was very, very excellent. It gave me the fiscal year in terms of the budget I was looking at, you know, I mean, that's always important. It gave me the accounting number in terms of the area, so I could go and right away look into that area and see that this was a cost that we had been budgeting for. So I want to thank you for providing those accounting details. And why is that important? It's important because there's a lot of people that do not come to these city council meetings. They don't even watch the city council meetings. They don't have time or they don't have the interest. But what they care about is the budget. So they will go to the city's packet and look for budget items. And if they don't understand this explanation of topic, where it's coming from in the budget, because they'll look at the budget. So that's why it's important, is that this was a very good consumer-friendly description of where to find this allocation in the budget. And I want to thank you for thinking of the public when you were preparing your explanation here.
Welcome.
Councilmember Kibble.
Just a quick one, Ron. First off, it's going to be black, correct?
That, I believe so, yes.
It mentions black in there, but I wondered only in that the aluminized coating, I didn't know if ultimately it would end up looking like a mirror. So,
No, I don't believe it's going to be a mirror, but the final coating may be silver or
Okay.
white. I'm getting all 3 of the quotes a little confused right now.
okay. These passages between buildings, those are being amended as well?
Yes.
Okay, so it's just a little
They're
gable roof
breezeways.
between them?
Yeah, they're breezeways, and that's in the price also.
Yeah,
Gonna
okay.
attach the different additions to the building. Those are currently leaking also, so those are going to be.
Makes good sense. I just saw this little highlight. I assumed that was it. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Walton?
If there have no further discussion, I'd like to go ahead and make the recommendation to accept the quote from the for a Department of Public Works upper garage roof replacement from Five Star Roofing for the total price of $10,200.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a motion from Councilmember Walton, supported by Councilmember Kennedy, to approve the quoted price from Five Star Roofing for the Department of Public Works upper garage roof replacement for the amount of $10,200. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you for being here, Ron.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
New business number 3 tonight is Dixboro Paving Project.
Mr. Mayor, we received our cost participation agreement from Oakland County for the Dixboro paving project. The project is being funded through federal funds, road commission funds, Oakland County, City of South Lyon, Lyon Township, and Green Oaks Township. And this is a road commission for Oakland County in cooperation with the Michigan Department of Transportation and Federal Highway Administration. The recommendation tonight is to approve the cost participation agreement for the Dixboro Road paving project. There's information attached that does outline as far as the specific costs for each one of the entities that is participating within the agreement. It's already been reviewed by our attorney, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
It seems pretty straightforward, so if nobody's got anything, I'd like to make the motion that we approve the cost participation agreement for the Dixboro Road paving project.
I'll second.
Just for the record, it should be stated that our portion will be $541.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Kivel, supported by Councilmember Walton, to approve the cost participation agreement for the Dixboro Road paving project. Any further discussion?
Yeah.
Councilmember Kurtzwell, go ahead.
The dollar amount stated in here is $218,541. That's our total local share, but when you go to the agreement, it says South Lyon's share of the local share and funding in the amount of $223. Am I reading that wrong?
The 223 is divided by 3. That's for the
Tri-party.
tri-party, and so what we did is we only have to pay about 74,000 of that. If we elected to not use tri-party funds, we would have to pay that full 223,000. But since we have tri-party funds available, I'm taking those funds out of that to help pay for this portion. So our total, what we have to pay in using tri-party funds, which is through Oakland County, the Road Commission, and the City of South Lyon, will be total $218,541.
That's what's coming out of our budget.
That's total coming out of our budget. If we had not elected to take tri-party funds from the county, we would have to add on the two portions. One was paid by Oakland County and one was paid by the Road Commission for their tri-party portion that we're actually taking from them.
Okay, and this dollar amount will be coming out of the what fiscal budget?
It will be the 2019-2020 budget.
Okay, because...
And we do have money budgeted there, and because we are using tri-party funds, it's actually going to be less than what we originally budgeted. We do have money in there for the water main portion, which we identified, I believe, was about $88,000. And then we had in there within our budget, I believe it was about $390,000. But now total, this whole project is only going to cost us $218,000. Because we leveraged as many dollars as we could.
Okay, I was just a little confused because we didn't have the fiscal year budget on your explanation here.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's always helpful to know what fiscal year we're playing with, because I didn't know if this was money that was coming out of...
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just the fiscal year budget we're working with. Other than that, thank you for the great work on this.
Councilmember Richards, you had something?
Yes, Paul, okay, you explained part of this to me, and I'm grateful for you on that. I hope that when the time comes, when you have the estimate and know the contractor, we can all get an update from you of who the subcontractors are, general being MDOT, and their timetables for execution of the project.
Yes, I will come back before
Okay.
council and update you on everything that's taken place and when we expect things to be completed.
I'll call another question though. Paul, this is for you. Now, before you were here, we were tied up with safe routes to schools. A few years back. Glenn, you probably remember exactly. We put up $150,000. The project fell apart. We never got the money back, but we
That
didn't have to
isn't
pay.
part of this discussion.
We didn't have to pay in the rest. Okay, I'm just saying if this deal with the other parties falls apart, are we secure in our part of the deal? What would happen in that event?
Well, we will only be billed when the project is being completed. Our portion will be cut from the total, and then we will be asked to pay a certain amount based upon as the project moves forward. Just like if we were going to be paying for a project and we get billed by a specific contractor, it's only based upon items that are actually completed.
Okay.
So they're not going to say, okay, give us all the money and we'll hold the money and we're not going to do the job. I mean, I can get further details for you on how they will bill us, so I can get you that
Yeah, that'd be
and
great.
get you a
That'd
better
be good.
explanation on that.
Go ahead.
Councilmember Parisian was waiting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Paul, I have a quick question for you. On page 2, provision 3, subsection A, in this particular provision, it states that the city of South Lyon shall contribute the cost for the water main work at an estimated amount of $144,141. Anything above that cost shall be funded 100% by the city of South Lyon. Can you just explain for the record just the reasoning behind that? I was able to get clarification, but I think it is important we put that on the record because there isn't a cap. So in the event something does happen and this ends up being a project that costs more than the allotted amount that we estimated for, I think it should be clear.
Yes, we will be required because that portion of the water main, I'll just explain a little bit about that. There is a water main that runs under Dixboro Road that's just south of 9 Mile. The portion of that water main is at an elevation that is too close to the surface of where they are going to be placing an elliptical culvert that goes underneath the road. Because the current water main is so close to where that new culvert is going to be, we are going to have to reroute and lower that water main to a location where it's not going to be damaged as far as when installation is going to occur or later on that it could potentially freeze because it's too close to the surface or when they're actually installing it and installing material all around it. Because that is just for the city of South Lyon, it is technically not necessarily a part of a paving project. It is borne by us. If something takes place and there are more costs, we will be required to pay that total amount. And that $144,000 is part for water main. Part of it is also has to do with the pavement, which they only include in this 144, is part of the entrance that goes into Volunteer Park as well. But they did include it as all one total. But they want to know that is just our portion that we must pay. And if it goes higher, we have to pay for it. If it's less, then we don't have to pay as much.
Thank you.
Good question. Councilmember Kivel, go ahead.
I was actually going to ask about this as well, only in that when you were going through the cost that we were bearing, you had suggested it was $88,000 for the water main. So is the disparity between the 144 and the 88 the paving?
Paving for entrance of Volunteer Park.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we have a motion from Councilmember Kivel, supported by Councilmember Walton, to approve the cost participation agreement for the Dixboro Road paving project. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. We'll move on to the budget this evening. Anything else with the budget? Councilmember Kurtzwell, go ahead.
Thank you. Just wanted to remind everybody that we have an unfunded portion with respect to our pension liability. And as Governor Whitmer noticed, that the unfunded pension liability for the state school system, the interest on that would, if that if they didn't have that unfunded portion, would be enough to pave the roads in the state of Michigan. So I said, so what could we do with $5 million here in the city of South Lyon if we didn't have a problem with our unfunded pension liability? And the first thing that came to my mind was we definitely could start developing Volunteer Park. So that's how expensive and important it is to get this unfunded pension liability under control, which we haven't done up to now. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Kivel, go ahead.
Just for clarity's sake, we've been on a plan with MERS to take care of this. It's 23-year payoff plan, and it would absolutely be terrific if we could just go ahead, take all the revenue that we have and pay this off, but then we wouldn't be able to accomplish everything else that takes place every single day that the city performs out in there, taking care of the roads, mowing lawns, making sure water and sewer is running. All that stuff costs money. So the 23-year-old plan, or 23-year-long plan, is exactly what the arrangement was when we negotiated with MERS. That was their suggestion. We're on that same schedule, and if we have a windfall of revenue coming in, we can amend that plan and pay it off early. I mean, obviously, the less interest you pay, the better off you are. But in the meantime, we're doing exactly as we had agreed with MERS. So,
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Kurtzwell.
Without going into any detail, I would disagree with the analysis of that data and would also like to note that Green Oak Township, I believe last year or the year before, made roughly a $25,000 additional payment on their pension liability. So I think the city's been negligent in managing this, and we all know that that 23-year-old plan is based on economic data, and nobody can forecast the economic data for 23 years out. So that's just my general comment. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
we should ask Green Oak to pay that.
Anyone else with anything on the budget this evening? Nope. All right. We'll move on to the manager's report.
I want to update council on a couple items. I did put something in there regarding the MML conference or the convention that's coming up in downtown Detroit. If you are interested, please let us know if you're going to attend. When we get the registration information regarding classes and seminars, we'll get that to all of you. The next thing is the NASA photos. They are up around town. They were installed today. They're at various locations. We're expecting to have the brochures available, so if you get out there, please take a look at them. Remember, they're both sides, good reading material, good information, and good cooperation and working with the library as well as the Cultural Arts Commission and trying to get something like that to town. It's very unique. No one else within the state of Michigan that has those up this year. Want to update you also, we're going to potentially have a closed session next meeting. We're also going to have a meeting discussion with Seamless Tube regarding with the DEQ presentation. I've been meeting with the Parks and Rec Committee regarding improvements and moving to the phasing plan forward, which is identified in the 2019-20 budget. I did apply for a grant through SEMCOG to try to assist us with that as well. And I did put on all of your chairs today where we stand based upon grants that we have received, grants that we've actually gotten dollars for in 2019. This is all just since I started. We have some funds that we've already received, some are pending. We're waiting to receive notification if we do in fact get those, and when we do get that notification, yay or nay on those specific grants, I will let you know. And also we did hire a DPW director. That individual is going to be starting the 1st of July. And I'll give you more information, and I will be bringing him before council at one of those meetings. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Councilmember Parisian, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Paul, thank you for the grant information, because this is exactly what I was looking for. I had asked for it a while back, and the dollar amounts are, if you put all this together, more than we've received in quite some time. I've been on council for 4 years, and I mean, I can't even count on one hand how many grants that we received, because I don't think we were getting any grants. We were not utilizing the program. So it goes to show that this body is making decisions that are helping the city, moving it forward. And you can see that just by this grant information that you've provided to us. So thank you. This is more in the last, 2018, 2019, in the last year and a half than we've received ever since I've been on council. So thank you. It's positive change.
Councilmember Kurtzwell, go ahead.
I just had a quick question. Where are we? What is the timeline for the cement over, the paving over at the DPW yard?
Well, that was, first phase of it was identified in the 2019-20 budget. Part of it was to do we had originally allocated, I think it was $170-some thousand for this year's budget. We did get those estimates back from HRC just when we were adopting the budgets, and to do the paving and all the storm work was much more than what was originally budgeted just for the 1 year it was discussed. I believe it was in last year's budget. The first phase of this is going to be installing the storm work, doing land balancing work, doing detention basin work, and then the next budget year we'll be doing the concrete work. So we're going to continue to move forward, but we have to do the storm work and detention and retention facilities before we can do any of the paving work.
And what's your timeline for all that?
2 to 3 years from now.
No, what's going to be done in this fiscal budget year, 2019?
The storm work, where we install the storm work, which is piping that's underground, as well as doing land balancing and clearing areas to provide detention of water for that enters the storm sewer before it does enter the creek.
And when does that project start?
Well, we have to wait till we have to bid it out, so it'll start after July 1st, because we cannot allocate funds until after 1st July.
Okay, so it's going to be bidded out,
Yes.
30 days on the bid?
My guess is probably 60 to 90 days with design. They could potentially start doing some of the work and complete it before the end of this year's budget year.
Okay, that's what I'm looking for, is
Okay.
I'm looking for, the thing that I'm afraid of is that, and this is just my opinion, but I kind of have had an opportunity for years to kind of watch how the city does stuff, is that the intentions are good, but it's the follow-through where everything falls apart. So even though there is a plan in place, we have some tentative deadlines here, timelines. Maybe we might kind of, sort of, by November, December, have something in place. That could shift to, it's now too cold, the ground is frozen, we'll get to it in March or April, and then before you know it, it's May, June, and people have lost interest.
Well,
So-
that's not our intention, because I have our engineers working on a lot of projects as far as design, some of the sewer inspection work, some of the other sewer installation work that's going underneath where the railroad tracks are, other minor paving projects around. But I actually just put something into them today regarding setting up a time frame to have these meetings, so we start to do some of this preliminary work, because we have guesstimates now, and we need to bid it out, and we need to get moving on it. That's my intention, is to get this portion done within the 2019-20 budget year.
I mean, thank you. Thank you for your commitment to the city, and thank you for your commitment to the DPW workers who have been waiting decades for improvements over there in their facility. So I want to thank you for that. And I'm going to stay on top of this, so I just want to let you know, okay? Thank you
Expect you
so
to.
much. Thank you.
Councilmember Richards, go ahead. Councilman Walton, will come next.
Paul, could you speak to us about our new employee in the ordinance department, okay? And is he going to be a 3-day-a-week man, or just how is he going to be available?
Yes, he's working Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. He started last week. He's a former police chief in Northville, and he comes with a lot of good ordinance and experience. And the chief and I have met with him both a couple times and discussed with him philosophies regarding preventative, reactionary, that sort of thing, and being able to work with the residents and businesses regarding ordinance enforcement. We think it's going to work out really well. He's getting his feet wet, learning a lot about the city of South Lyon, and we're confident he's going to do a good job for us.
Oh, we really need him. I'm hoping to meet him soon.
Councilmember Walton, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, that kind of flows right into my question for you, because I think we spoke offline about the benches in front of Wendy's, and if we were going to talk to them about replacement because they are in such desperate need of it and someone's going to get hurt.
Yeah, and I told you those are not technically our benches, but yeah, that's the first step, is to contact them and ask them about making repairs or removal if they cannot do
So are we
that.
having the ordinance officer work on that?
That'll be the first step.
Perfect. Thank you.
Anyone else with anything for Paul this evening? Thanks, Paul. At this time, we'll open the floor for public comment. Please remember to state your name and address, and that there is a 2-minute time limit. We'll close public comment and move on to council comments this evening. Councilmember Richards, why don't you get us started this evening?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I hope I don't overstep onto somebody else's topic here, but I plan to go as fast as I can on this. Just to let everybody know, last Friday I wore my orange blazer uptown, which I've had for years. I used to sell them in my garage sale. Nobody else uses them very much anymore, but I was very happy to wear my blazer on Friday for our proclamation that we made last meeting. Moving on, the Peerless Peerless Mobile Crane and Water Main Company is at work in McCaddy Park today. They had their new crane mobile crane set up in there, and they were replacing the well point on one of the big wells that goes to the tube mill on the north side of Yerkes Drain. Next one, I'm hoping Relay for Life, that's coming up this Saturday, June 15th. I hope we can remember that and work it into our busy schedules. It will be held at Millennium Middle School on Saturday, and it's an all-day affair starting at in the evening and going till the next evening. Go Purple, that's their theme. And I brought up one of the cards. These are one of the cards that they have set out for people. Okay, the next item is the Dorothy Street Block Grant. Okay, no, that's wrong. Well, Dorothy Street Block Party, this Saturday, 12 to 8 p.m. Wish them all the best. Okay, next one, the Historical Society has a program on the 18th, that's next week, at the Freight House, the Wall Lake Amusement Park, in the days gone by. And I'm sure it will be a very informative program. It used to be an amusement park over in the city of Wall Lake, and it was quite a draw through the 1920s and 30s. It's long gone now. Just a quick message. I personally saw one of the containers that we've talked about uptown, done by Superb Fabricating, and I was impressed. They're big and they're just beautiful, okay? Very impressive, okay? And one of the Nassau pictures I saw uptown also. I was very impressed. I hope we can all see some of them as we go along. Our favorite community activist, Phil Weipert, the next one here, is a county delegate to SEMCOG. You've probably all gotten these in the mail. This doesn't directly pertain to what Phil is doing. He's in Omaha, Nebraska. He left Sunday morning. He will be returning Wednesday afternoon. That's the day after tomorrow, okay? And at that time, he will be going to the regular commission meeting, of which he's a member, in Oakland County. I think it's in Waterford, where they meet. And he will be receiving a grant check for the city of South Lyon in the amount of $12,000. This is for the Regional Council of Governments. And he's also chairman of the SEMCOG committee, okay, for 2020, I believe. And he will be bringing that back to us prior to the next council meeting. So he's really on the move and doing things to benefit our community. Yeah, and on the next item, I want to wish, and I'm sure we all do, pleasant departure and best wishes for Lori Moser, who is retiring during the course of this week, and I hope that we can find somebody that's as competent, half as competent and pleasant and wonderful and agreeable to deal with as she has been in the office whenever I've at least asked a question. I'm sure all of us feel the same way. And with that, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilmember Richards. Councilmember Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Start off with tonight, I want to congratulate the Salem South Lyon District Library for their grand opening of the children's expansion that took place last Sunday. The weather was great, and they estimated that close to 1,000 people came out to help them celebrate, since they ran out of the 750 hot dogs at one point they originally had and had to go get 250 more. They had events of interest for all ages, which exemplifies the library itself. Even in today's era of technology, it continues to make itself relevant and indispensable to all members of our community, regardless of age. So congratulations once again. And speaking of congratulations, I'd like to congratulate the graduating classes of South Lyon High School and South Lyon East High School. Both schools had their graduation ceremonies on Saturday, and I know there were a lot of proud and excited parents and relatives watching in the audience. I certainly want to wish the graduates the very best as they begin the next phase of their lives, knowing that the years leading up to this point have well prepared them for their ongoing success in the future. On another note, just to follow up with Councilmember Richards' point about the Relay for Life, there will be a Touch-a-Truck event as part of that ceremony on June 15th at the Millennium Middle School. That'll take place between 12 o'clock and 4 o'clock. In addition, there'll be another Touch-a-Truck event at the Salem South Lyon District Library on Wednesday, June 19th, that takes place from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. So bring the kids down and put them in the driver's seat. For the library event, you'll need to register in advance by going to their website. Also following on to Mr. Councilmember Richards' mention of the Historical Society, the event that he mentioned starts at 7 p.m. over at the Freight House. So if you want to attend that, it'll start at 7 o'clock. And actually, I believe Michigan Representative Kathy Crawford will be narrating that presentation. And finally, I want to remind everyone that the Concerts in the Park begins its 2019 season this Friday at 7 p.m. With the Saline Fiddlers, a premier youth fiddling show band from Saline. And then on Friday, June 21st, we'll have Pete Big Dog Fetters, who's a singer, songwriter, and performer from Wyandotte. He performs all genres of music. So come on down to the gazebo in the Historical Village and enjoy the music on Friday evenings for the summer. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilmember Kennedy. Councilmember Walton?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to keep my comments really short tonight, and I just want to welcome Doug and our new ordinance officer. We're going to look forward to working with both of you, and congratulate you, Lori, on your retirement. I'm surprised to hear it. I'm just learning of it, so congratulations, and wish you the best. And I just want to remind everyone to get out on the town and look for those NASA photos. That's a really neat thing that we have brought to our community, and I'm looking forward to getting out and doing some walking around town, visiting some businesses, and checking them out. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Walton. Councilmember Parisian?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Lori, first and foremost, congratulations on your retirement. Thank you so much, and everything you've done for the city, your commitment, and all your hard work. You were a shining example of what we hope to have in the future, too, in someone to take your place. So hopefully they're just half as good as you were. But congratulations, best wishes to you in your retirement, and we do really appreciate all your hard work and everything you've given the city. Thank you. Also, with that, I wanted to state that my mantra: get involved in your community, volunteer in, the local commissions we have, committees, boards. We have a council and mayoral election coming up. Be sure to pick up your council packets. If you are interested, you can pick them up here at City Hall. And the deadline isn't until, I believe, July 23rd to submit them at 4 o'clock. But if you want to learn more about local government, this is the best way to do it. Join a commission, join a board, kind of get your feet wet, see what works, what doesn't work, who the players are, all of that, so that when you do run for election, you know what's going on. The last thing I wanted to mention was more on a somber note. Thoughts and prayers go out to the young South Lyon High student who passed away last week. So thoughts and prayers go out to the family and friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Parisian. Councilmember Kurtzwell?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Please don't forget the Lake Street Cruise-In. That will be held later this month. It's a great event for the whole family. I'd like to thank the following sponsors of the 2019 Lake Street Cruise-In. It's Gail and Lisa at Real Estate One, and they're from South Lyon. Gibson Broach and Tool, they're out of Livonia. Grand Trunk Home out of South Lyon. Hot Rod and Racing Expo out of Novi. And our very own KV Sports, George, over right downtown South Lyon. Thank you to these sponsors for seeing value in investing in South Lyon. Investing in South Lyon doesn't always mean that you have to put up a building, improve the interior. It's coming forward and sponsoring some of these good, wholesome events in our town, and when they need your money. Next, I attended the open house for the new addition to the Salem South Lyon Library. Salem Township Supervisor Gary Whitaker was beaming with pride on the library as it's located in his township, and rightfully so. The South Lyon Library is the premier library in the area, and I would include Green Oak and Lyon Township in my comment. I would like to thank Donna Olson, the director of the library, for her outstanding leadership regarding this project. Donna will tell you that the project was a team effort. That may be correct, Donna, but most teams need a leader, and you were there through it all. You were there through the commitment, you had the dedication, you put in the overtime, and the sleepless nights worrying about every minute detail for that library. The community owes you a debt of gratitude for your service to education through reading, but more importantly, your service to literacy. Thank you, Donna Olson. Next, I'd like to remind everybody, I stopped in to see Jill at Glazy Days. She's got a fabulous new studio. She really, go in, sit down with her. I spent maybe about an hour with her. We had a great time, we laughed, and all I wanted to do was just sit there and paint flower pots. I mean, she just has great inventory. Everything is super. Her new location is working out very, very well for her. And on a personal note, Lori, I'm going to join those on council in wishing you well in your retirement. I'm so glad you live in town, so we'll be able to see you. You've ridden that wave, and you stayed with the city through a lot of difficult times, including, the Great Recession, when I'm sure accounting was probably a nightmare for you, with decreasing revenues and how you were going to handle the budget, et cetera, et cetera. You've always held your professionalism. I've always found our discussions very interesting, informative, and you have been a real intellectual joy to be around, and I want to thank you for everything, just absolutely everything. So good luck to you, and you and your husband take some rest and go traveling this summer. So enjoy life.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you, Councilmember Kurtzwell. Councilmember Kibble?
Ditto. We've known each other an awful long time, and it's going to seem a little funny coming in and not visiting, but I'm sure you and Steve are going to have a great time.
I know where you live.
True enough, indeed. And as everybody else has already spoken to, the expansion over at the Salem South Lyon Library was just terrific. I'm very envious of that group. They do such a terrific job. They're very detail-oriented and driven, and they have a volunteer base that is just astonishingly animated. I'd give anything if we could end up having people show up and ask us what we need done, because that would be a great deal of help. It's just such a beautiful place, and it's so well fit. All the activities are so specific to each little group of people they're trying to service. So I was really happy to see that it went as strongly as it did. The weather last weekend was so great. I hope everybody took full advantage of it, because being out on the paths and walking around through town, it really just reasserts the fact of what a terrific place we live in. So I'm hoping to get an awful lot more exposure to that in the coming days. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Kibble. Chief Sovic, do you have anything this evening?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. I will also make this brief, but I also have to thank Lori Mosier. Over a quarter century working here at South Lyon, so thank you. It's been a joy working with you for the past year and a half or so, so thank you for all your help. I wanted to congratulate the South Lyon East softball team. We had a South Lyon showdown in the district final last week, and South Lyon East knocked off the Lions to move on. A very nice spring sports season for the high schools this year, so congratulations. And lastly, I wanted to remind everyone about the American Legion golf outing on Saturday, July 27th. So pencil it in now. It's going to be a long day. You got to hit the American Legion golf outing, and then we're going to hit Motorfest. So um, it'll be a long one, but it'll be a good one in the community. Obviously, all the proceeds go to incredible local things that they do around here. So if you're interested in getting a team together, it's Saturday, July 27th. Reach out to our friends at the American Legion and get involved, and I'm looking forward to seeing all our friends out there. With that, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a great night, all.